Feel free to sing along to the opening song.
All right, let's see here. Get our party started.
Okay, but is my hair like podcast ready?
Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television.
Thank you, Laura. Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Bachelder, and welcome to Tales of the Black Badge, a Winona Earp fan podcast.
And I'm Bonnie Ferrar. And we're live from Earp-a-palooza!
So anyone who is coming into the room or is in the back of the room, there are no VIP seats, so feel free to move to the front if you want to. All right, we've got a good-sized crowd, but there's plenty of room here, and we want to make this very interactive. How many of you have either attended or listened to some of our Live at Con podcasts? All right, almost all of you. So you know how we like to do this. We joked yesterday about
no preparation whatsoever?
Yeah, hours of preparation and outlines, and it's Earpers. We're here to have fun. So yes, by all means, there is a mic over there. If you have questions, we'll open it up and include you at any point in here. But we figured we'd start out and talk a little bit about the con so far. So, are you folks having a good time? There is nothing, and I've been to a lot of cons in my life, nothing like the energy at an Earp con. You literally feel it just walking anywhere near the rooms in here. I don't know about you folks. How many of you, by a show of hands, this is your first Earp con? Oh my God, most of you. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, having had a chance to experience it at A-Con and also myself at Earp-a-Con UK, we were talking about this just a couple of minutes ago out front. Obviously, we'd love to see the cast, but very much for me, this has become a chance to see Earpers and talk to each of you and interact, because this is just such a special community. I don't want to talk too much about it, otherwise I'll cry. Yep, tissues are handy. I made sure they were up here.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's become like a family. All of us, whether this is your first convention and you're meeting Earpers for the first time, I'm sure you agree. It feels like you've known each other for a lifetime in some cases. We've interacted on Twitter, perhaps Facebook, and you get to know these people. They're almost part of your day. They comment on your struggles. They comment on the funny things. And I mean, Earpers are hilarious. Like, we're really funny on Twitter. It's like, I don't know what other fandoms are like, but we're really funny. And it's like, if you get an Earper sense of humor, like, they kind of get you. So it's almost like you see someone posting something hilarious and you're like, you're my people, okay, And so when you're at a convention like this, that just keeps going through my mind all the time. Like, these are my people, So we're having a blast getting to interact with everybody. We had some amazing panels yesterday, today. There's still more to come. Mm-hmm. And I just can't help but think how lucky we are as fans that we have this amazing cast who feels so comfortable and safe to be able to open up on panels or in interviews or, while they're doing signings or while they're doing photo ops, and give so much of themselves. I know we sound like a broken record on the podcast, but really, it's truly unique. People don't do that, I mean, just normal people don't do that, much less, celebrities and people who have a platform, but they consistently use their platform to inspire and uplift. And I'm ever so grateful that we jumped on this bus 3 seasons ago. So.
Yep, never getting off the bus.
Unless it's to kick ass with Winona, and then I will.
How many, by a show of hands, were at the Friday night episode viewing here? Again, I don't know why I ask these questions. It should be everybody. But again, that's another example of, you talk about your special things. I mean, I don't know how many of you get a chance to watch an episode with friends or maybe a local Earper group, but the chance to watch it with other Earpers, when we all get the jokes, when we all understand what's happening, when we all can get choked up at the emotional stuff, being able to share that is part of why certainly I got into podcasting, and why I started this podcast was that damn it. I just want to be around other passionate people who share a passion. You know, we all know how much the world can be a dumpster fire. So the chance to find other people who just want to enjoy something for what it is, you know, that was just a hope of starting the podcast. Maybe there'd be a few other people out there. Those of you who listened to the very first episode, I was solo. I hadn't had the chance yet to interact with Bonnie, so I didn't even know if I'd have a co-host. So it was just to jump in and do it there. So there have been so many things that have happened to make this whole experience for all of us so special. And I never want to lose sight of that. That's part of why when I talk to a lot of you one-on-one, especially here at the cons, and Bonnie and I say on the podcast, you know, please, when you see us at the con, come up and say hello, because it makes it real. Bonnie and I sit in our homes by ourselves when we record these podcasts, and there's...
I'm not by myself.
Well...
I got like 5 kids I'm putting to bed at the same time.
She is the multitasker extraordinaire, but I mean, there aren't any other fans there.
Yeah.
So getting to hear from you people, whether it's on Twitter or via email or here at cons, is just so emotionally overwhelming in the best way possible, because we're just sharing our passion.
Yeah. We've said this before in some of our live podcasts, but I feel like it needs to be a theme that comes up every time. Is just the whole idea you said about sharing your passion, and you know, I know you guys know that I'm very low key about things. Like, I'm really chill about a lot of stuff, so it's hard to know when I'm excited. I know, but my whole life I've gotten excited about stuff, random things. I mean, when I was in college, I got like ridiculously excited about Phantom of the Opera for like, and I'm one of those people that's like, oh my God, and then he's singing and he's like, oh, Christine, you know, and I'm like, and my roommates were like, oh God, like enough, you know, like, and that's kind of usually been the reaction, right? Like they'll listen to you for to a point, you know, to a point where, and then you get that, you know that's enough, and you need to pull that back inside of you. And the thing about being at cons, the thing about being around Earpers that I never knew existed, like I didn't know it existed in the world, were that a place where you could be as excited and as passionate, and you can go on and on and on about something that you really like, and you don't get that feeling that like, okay, time's up, like switch subjects, pull it back inside, be a little bit more like, you know, yeah, whatever, it's a good musical, you know. And I really like that. I love being able to come here and just be no chill and passionate, and with everyone else who feels the same way about something. So it's a gift, it really is, because when we go back to everyday life, I don't know about you guys, but I don't get that every day. So it is truly a gift.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I harp on a little bit, is just open up, you know, be willing to share this stuff that is so special. This experience of this show, not our podcast, but this show and this fandom, all due respect to other actors and shows, I don't think we're ever going to see anything like it. So don't be passively like, yeah, like Monty said, yeah, it's okay, or I enjoy it. Be willing to put yourself out there, especially in this group, since it's such a safe environment. The real world isn't, we know that. But here, because you never know when you're going to get a chance to do something like this. Too many things go wrong. So it's pretty special. And I'm assuming it's going to be, again, 98% of you, but how many of you listened to the most recent interview we did with Dom? Yeah, I mean, those interviews don't happen. Okay? We don't have such special people who are willing to open up like that. A little behind the scenes on the podcast. Normally when we do the interviews, we use a dial-in phone service, a conference call system. You know, a lot of folks aren't highly technical, so we don't do it over the computer and such. But one of the benefits, the reason as a podcaster I like that, is the phone conference service records the call, and then I use a digital recorder at my computer, so I have a backup. Because things can go wrong. Technology isn't perfect. The most recent one we did with Dom, she was still over in the UK when we did that one. So, you know, conference call service wasn't a good idea. It would have been too expensive. So we just did it over the internet, over Skype. Many of you probably use Skype. So I only had one recording, my digital recorder, which is fine. I've done that sometimes, but I've being a longtime podcaster, I know stuff crashes. So once the interview started going, and she started sharing these once-in-a-lifetime stories and the energy, all I could do was stare at my recorder and basically talk to it like, if you dare to crash now, you're going out the window. Because, I mean, if we had lost that, I think I would have died on the spot. And Bonnie can tell you, once we ended that one, you know, kind of what I went through.
Yeah, so every time we end the call with the cast, you know, we say, you know, thank you so much for your time. And then they leave, and Kevin and I stay on together. And usually we're like, oh my God, that was so amazing. And then we have to record our intro, which is, you know, where we talk about how, you know, like it's kind of just a setup to get into. And so I said, oh my God, that was amazing. I can't believe she stayed on and talked to us like that. You ready to record the intro? It was like silence from him. And I'm like, Kevin? And he goes, hold on. I'm trying to like check. I need to check the recorder. I only have the one recording. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm sitting there, all of a sudden I went, oh my God, he only has the one. Like, what if we lost? You know, and then I started to panic because it was like this lightning in a bottle. You know, you could never, ever recreate that moment ever again if you tried. And it was like, oh God, please don't let that just be a story we tell that like, oh, we had this amazing interview, but we lost it, you know, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, thank God it's there. Okay, we have it, we got it. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that was a little concern. I mean, immediately while I was talking to her, like uploaded the file to 2 different file sharing services in case my computer crashed or this site crashed. I wanted that somewhere to make sure we could
We locked it in a vault, sent it messenger pigeon to me. Yeah, we had like, you know.
Yeah, so that was, you know, just part of what makes it happen.
But you know, meeting, like going back to what we were talking about, this being a special thing and sharing your passion, I have to share the story with you. So like I didn't know that because like I said, I've always been too no chill sometimes. I lived like that with a lot of people who were friends, but you know, who I just didn't really feel like kind of quite got me all the way, you know? You're like, oh, these friends are good to do this with. These friends are good to do that with. These friends are good to do this with. You know, you kind of piece it out and there's parts of you. So through this experience, meeting Kevin, meeting all of you guys, doing the podcast, you know, and finding my voice, I realized something. And there's a quote about like, find your tribe and love them hard, you know? And I thought, you know what, like, I would have never found all of you guys or him or anybody if I hadn't felt brave enough for some reason to share my passion or to put that voice out there, right? And to like almost like call out, you know, like hello, and everybody echoed back, we're here, you know, and everybody came to Winona Fans so my son, he's 15, and he's going to love this because he actually listens to the podcast, and he'll be like, I can't believe you talked about me. So he's 15, and he was, 2 years ago, he was in middle school. Middle school's tough, and he was struggling to make friends, and he was going through a really rough time. And I told him, I said, Aiden, you need to just be yourself. Like, stop trying to, because he was like, well, what do I say to these guys when they say this? And what do I say? You know, I said, don't worry about what do you say. You know, I said, just be you. You said the message you put out there, the voice you put out there, you're basically advertising. You know, you're saying, this is who I am. And the people who answer that ad are the people you want in your life. If you're putting out a different ad, like, oh yeah, like I'm totally into sports, you know, or whatever it is, you know, and you're not, you're putting out a different ad. You're attracting different people who aren't going to get all of you. And so I don't know if it was the right moment, but my 13-year-old at the time listened to me, and he did. He started to be, he's like, okay, and he did. He started to just be his goofy self. He stopped caring so much about like what he was saying. He talked about, you know, Star Trek and Doctor Who and all the things, and he came back from school about a couple weeks later, and he was like beaming, and I said, what? He goes, Mom, I made a friend, like a good friend, like he's interested in like directing, and he likes Star Trek too, and and I was so excited for him because I said, that's because you put yourself out there, and you said, this is who I am, who wants to be my friend, you know? And I think so many of us don't start that way. We don't say, this is who I am. We say, who do you want me to be? Who do you want me to be so that I can sit at your table, or so that I can hang out with you guys? And I think that's the wrong emphasis. And so just in this fandom has helped me to not only become a better person, to live a more authentic life, but it's also inspiring my kids as well. It's helping me to be a better mom, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, from a sci-fi genre show about killing demons. And I could never say that to anybody else but you guys, and you would get it, because my family would be like, what do you mean? You're like, how is this demon show helping you be a better mom to your kids? Go to church. And I'm like, no. You know? And I'm like, no, you don't get it. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, but you understand what I mean. So anyway, that's my little story.
Yeah, trying to put into words sometimes what this show and this fandom and this family means to us is hard for those who aren't in it. Let's face it. We've all had friends who are into something, and their passion for it sometimes makes us go, whoa, okay, maybe not. So it's hard to do that, but sometimes it's also the most gratifying. On a family side of it, and some of you actually were there to experience this at ACON, my wife, who is my soulmate, she's not big on sci-fi and fantasy. That's just not her bag. She watches, not so much with me, but she'll, when she's in the room, she'll look at the shows. She's watched a few episodes of Winona because she sees how much I'm into it, but it's just, okay, that's great, that's your thing. But when we went to ACON Canada, she got interested in coming, since things have been building, and there's, she'd been hearing about lots of fans for the podcast and for the show. But she came up with me along with her sister, mainly because they wanted to take a day trip down to Niagara Falls. They weren't really there for the con, but that's fine. So she was around, but when I came in the first day, many of the other Earpers were already there, and several of them were at a nearby restaurant. And we got there. I said, I'm going to head over there. Do you want to come over? And she's like, well, fine. So we came over there. And when we came into the restaurant and came around the corner, there was the table of all the Earpers. And as soon as everybody saw me, everybody stood up and said, Kevin! My wife was freaked out. She did not want to go on. She was very nice and hung around for a few minutes. But later on, she's like, wow, you really are something somebody knows. So she really got a lot more fun and got to hang around at the bar and met several of you. So hopefully, fingers crossed, she's going to be coming to Earp Expo, maybe next summer if we go there. So, but she enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and the energy for someone who wasn't a big fan, but that was something that she resonated because she saw how happy it made me. That's what she said. All of this stuff, it's your passion, it's your hobby, it's something you enjoy doing, and she fully supports it. So, sometimes the over-passion can turn some folks off, but sometimes it makes them really appreciate what we've all got going.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. We can talk about a lot of different topics here. Mm-hmm. The show, the podcast, behind-the-scenes stuff, but what we like to do with these live things is make it very much open to what you folks are interested in hearing us talk about. Are there any topics or things you want us to kind of go on here? Because we've got plenty of time here. In terms of what we want to cover.
Fred. Is it on? Oh, you may have to flip the little switch. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
This is Fred from the Netherlands.
Hey, Fred.
Having some feedback for Winona Earp season 3.5. I just want to give a shout out. I don't have a question for you. You are so amazing. I probably need that tissue in a minute. Actually, you're the reason I'm here. So we have these actors, we have this crew, we have Emily, they are the artists. But you are the wizards of Winona Earp. I shortly talked to you yesterday, and you, Bonnie, having 5 kids, you, Kevin, having a day job next to it, you really amazed me by how multitasking you all do this. Do it on social media, do it even here, and I'm seeing what you all do. It's really, really amazing. A big hand for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Thank you.
And an important part of this, and I don't know if we say it often enough, is when we started out doing this, we had no expectations. We were not doing this to get a large following. We weren't doing this for any reason other than having fun. And it has just grown and grown and grown. But it's also the energy and the power from folks like you again, coming over here from the Netherlands and all the feedback you send into the podcast, I mean, the dedication that all of you have and share with us, how could we not be passionate and try to spend every possible moment to give more content back to you folks, too? It's the same way with when we kind of went a little crazy for a couple weeks there, 9 podcasts in 20 days, including like 5 interviews and all of that. And our editor, Brent, is a good friend of mine, has been for 10 years. I mean, he's a guy who loves editing. I mean, thank goodness for him, or we wouldn't be here. But he's not a huge Winona fan. He watches the show and enjoys it, but he's not a huge fan. But even he is like, oh no, you guys need to you're doing that? Okay, the daily recaps from the conventions. Have you set up the blog post? He's checking up on me because he knows how important it is, and he loves being a part of that and what we get to bring to him too. So it's lovely when it keeps just folding out there. So it's just overwhelming if I think about it too much.
Yeah, like you said, we didn't start out to do anything really. We just wanted to talk about the show. I know we've said that I just opened a fan account because I didn't want my whole timeline to be about Winona, and I thought, oh, this will be a fun place. But in all honesty, if you had people always wonder. I always, when I was a kid, used to be like, oh, I wish I had a crystal ball and I could see 2 years in the future or 5 years in the future. Does this work out? The older I get, the more I'm like, no, I don't want that. Because if you had sat me down on that day when I created the Winona Fans account, or when Kevin DM'd me and said, hey, would you want to come on the podcast and just say a couple words about your fan account? If you had given me that glimpse into the future and you had said, okay, in 3 seasons, you'll have interviewed the cast over 20 times and you will have done conventions, you will be up on stage, you will be moderating, you will be doing live podcasts, you'll have 23,000 followers on Twitter, even though you just started Twitter and you don't really know how to tweet. If you had said that, I would have been like, I can't do it, I'm not good enough. Like, there's someone else better qualified for that, surely, But I'm really glad that I didn't have a crystal ball, because taking the journey, going on this ride with Kevin and with all of you has been life-changing. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that my insecurities would have talked me out of being here. And I'm so glad that it didn't.
So are we.
But it's feedback like Fred's, or whether we get to come here on the live podcast, that make me realize that, just how special it really is. So.
And there's a lot of folks too that send in emails, especially, or DMs, that tell us, it's not for the podcast. And it's private things they're sharing, as many of you can imagine, of the impact of the show or finding the community. The podcast has become a wonderful conduit to allow all of us to interact and to share an experience or to hear more from this great cast and crew. So it's wonderful when folks reach out to share their stories of things they've overcome or things they have to deal with. Certainly the Jolene episode, our feedback just exploded with folks sharing things that they had to go through and how the show helped them, and certainly that's why we wanted to talk to Dom about it and get some insights on dealing with that and how that all went, because it impacted all of us, very much. I mean, I talked about how much of a big fan I am, as many of you know, of Buffy. And when we had the grief episode this season, how much that parallels to the episode The Body there, and how difficult it was for me. I mean, it's probably the first time on our podcast where I said that, I wasn't sure I could say I like this episode of Winona Earp, only because it hurt me so much to watch it. Seeing people that I truly cared about in pain, not a fun thing. But I was also so proud that it was done, and so much of a gift to us to show us all about important things. And we talked to Jolene, the grief episode, all that was going on, Doc a bit with the addiction idea of the blood. This is so real for a show about a demon-killing cowgirl. And that's why it's not. And that's the hard part sometimes. I'm sure you folks have the same thing when you're trying to explain to a friend why you don't just watch the show, you live it. Trying to say how real it is for characters is sometimes hard. And that's why I appreciate the podcast, because I know all of you get it, and other people don't sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, because if you really think about an episode, just for a second, like think about what goes down in one episode. You've got people licking potatoes. You've got, like giant gnomes that don't look like gnomes, You've got people with glowing red eyes, and there's all this craziness going on. There's trees grabbing people, and it makes no sense to someone who just happens to show up, right? So, you're kind of like, no, you can't watch season 3. You have to start at the beginning, but even when you start at the beginning, at first, it took us a while to really when you just watch the episode, sometimes these things don't, it's a fun episode, the quips, the funny lines, but it's not till you sit down and really think about the episode, and we'll be sitting there podcasting, and literally, I don't have things scripted out. He has general notes about then this happened, just to jog our memories, but while we're talking about it, that's when all the and then, I wonder if this, and that, and it's literally it's diving down into it that makes me appreciate the show so much more, which I think as someone you're trying to get into the show as a casual observer who just happens to be at your house, and you're like, hey, let's watch this Wynonna Earp episode with me, and then you're like, oh, that's really difficult to explain. They're not seeing that second and third and fourth layer to the show that we all see and that we all get. So I'm really grateful to be able to be on the podcast to dive down into that for myself even, because there are some episodes I watch and I'm like, well, that was a fun episode. And then as we're talking about it on the podcast, all this stuff starts to occur to me. And if you've watched a couple of our live podcasts this season, we did some on our Crowdcast service, as you got to see us actually do the podcast. You'll see my face be like, oh yeah, because it's literally as we're breaking it down, because we're just two friends discussing the show and how it, so it's interesting. But I had a question, and I'll put this out to you guys. I think it's kind of interesting. This was my question I had on for the Ladies of Purgatory panel, but it was one of the fun questions I had, and that I didn't. The panel went a totally different, which is, and it went the way I wanted it to go, but I had these, and I'm so glad, it was amazing, and I'm so grateful, but I had fun questions just in case, and one of the questions was, if you had one episode to show someone to get them hooked on Wynonna Earp, what would it be? Because I often think about that. Would it be the pilot? Would it be the second one? What would it be, a drunk hot episode? And I have a hard time with that, right? If you have one episode to sell your best friend on becoming an Earper, Everybody's looking at me like, wow. All of them. Yeah, I know. It does depend on the person, you're right. So you gotta dive down into it and be like, first, before I show you this, fill out this questionnaire. And tell me all your favorite past shows and everything you like. Tell me about your childhood, Yeah. 207.
Yeah. The same as this year, 307 had a lot of great stuff too.
307 is what got my friend started when he was at my house playing D&D.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a great way to be able to do it.
I'm guessing a lot of drunk hot, is basically. Drunk hot sells anybody,
Works really well.
Huh? So, yeah, the second episode was the episode for me. So I watched the pilot, and I was like, oh, this is good, But we got to watch two together because Sci-Fi sends screeners. Sometimes they send them in pairs. And so I watched the first episode, and I was like, oh, good, this is going to be a good show. I'm excited. I've opened up a fan account. But it was the second episode where, with the shadowy guy and Wynonna's, going, I'm the girl with the big ass gun, that's the episode for me where I went, I picked the right horse. Okay. That was okay, this is really going to be something special. So I agree. I like that one.
By a show of hands, how many of you remember I think it was episode number 1 of the podcast or 2, where we had the clips from the Sci-Fi Media conference call? Do many of you remember that? Just a few? Sci-Fi Channel, they don't do it as much now, but when they want to help promote their shows, those of us in the media side, they will get a few of the actors or folks from the show together and set up a conference call. So if you're covering the show, you call into this conference call system, and then they have a phone moderator that basically, if you want to ask a question, you press a button and they queue people up, and they will say, oh, Mr. So-and-so from this publication, Miss So-and-so from here, your turn to ask a question, and you put out a question. So I was on that call, and I, so to speak, buzzed in to want to ask my question. There was Emily and Mel and Dom. I think Tim was there, and I think Bo was there. And this is a week before the show has aired. I've seen the first 2 episodes, so I have a little idea what it's like. But it's not even aired yet. And I had told Emily, since I knew her from the Lost Girl days, I had followed her there, we had exchanged a couple messages. I wouldn't say we knew each other, but I knew her and saw how funny and interactive she was. I had DM'd her a couple days before to say, I'm going to do a podcast for the show. Just wanted to say hi and so forth. She replied in a nice way, wonderful or whatever. It was a nice, quick exchange. When it came time to have me come on to do my question, everybody's muted until that moderator, opens up your side of it. So you kind of wait for when it's your turn and they say, Kevin Bachelder. Then I'm usually take a breath in and get ready to go. When the moderator introduced me, before I could take that breath in, Emily jumped in and introduced me to the cast. Hey everyone, this is Kevin Bachelder. He's doing a podcast called Tales of the Black Badge, and I think he's got some good ideas, and I hope you all enjoy what he's going to be doing. And I was just dumbstruck. I got to admit. I mean, we now know how wonderful she is. I had an idea then, but I didn't know. But that to me was for me when I said, I'm in the right place. To have a showrunner who is, doesn't really know me that well, give me that kind of an introduction to the cast in such in a warm way was really, to me, important. And we now know that's the foundation of why we all love the show, because it's all of us there. But there was an early example before really anything had been built. So I'm still today, and I mentioned it to her, still today is the thing that really, I think for me said, this is well worth all of my time.
Yeah. Do you guys have questions? You can get up and, yeah.
Yeah, questions or topics you want to
questions
go
or
on,
topics.
whatever?
I was just wondering, when Anna Silk's character came out in that episode, how did you feel when she introduced herself as Kevin? Did you know that was going to happen? Did you know she was going to be Kevin?
So can I just say something first? Okay.
Yes.
So we were at Klexicon last year in the Winona Earp panel, and I think was it the Winona Earp panel or was it Lost Girl?
The Lost Girl panel.
Okay. So Lost Girl panel. I know so many panels. We were on the Lost Girl panel, and I had to go to the restroom, so I had to sneak out. So I snuck out, and I came back in, and I pass him, and I'm like, I'm trying, and we were all on the floor, and I pass him, and he's got this like look on his face that I've never really seen before, and I'm like, what happened? And he goes, Anna Silk just announced that she's going to be on Lost Girl, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then he looked at me, and goes, her name is Kevin. And I was like, wait, what? And so we kind of compose ourselves, and we walk out of the room, and I look at him, and I'm like, are you okay? And he was like, can I?
You can do it, yes.
He was like, fuck yeah. And Kevin doesn't do that too often. He saves it for when it really matters. And I was beaming. I was so excited for him.
I mean, I didn't know about that ahead of time. So she announced she was going to be on the show, which I just thought was cool. I mean, Anna Silk is the reason Bonnie and I met each other, since we ran into each other in a photo op line.
I mean, you make it sound like we knew her. Like she introduced us, which is pretty cool. Let's just go with that. Anna Silk introduced us.
Well, I should say, yeah, she is the reason we were introduced to each other. But yeah, she announced she was going to be on the show, and I was sitting there just thinking, cool. And then she said her name was Kevin, and I must admit, when I first heard it, I just thought, cool. And then it kind of registered, Kevin, oh, like I forgot my own name. And then I swear about 25 people around me, the Earpers, all turned around and looked at me like I knew something. And I'm just doing I don't know anything. And then just a few minutes later, heading over to the vendor area, Emily's going to get to her autograph table. And I hadn't seen her at the con. She literally, gave a quick hug. And swear to God, exactly. Yeah, Anna's going to be on the show, and I hope it's okay. I named her after you. Got to go. Bye. And I literally just stood there and wobbled because she had just confirmed that it was really named after me, and I I don't know what to say.
Because until that moment, you were still kind of like, well, there's a lot of
it's a
Kevins in the
coincidence.
world.
It's a
There's
coincidence.
Kevin's not that extraordinary of a name. There's a lot of Kevins. I'm like, Kevin, it's about you. But yeah, but it was amazing.
And those of you who heard the Dom interview heard her just out of the blue ask me what I thought about it and how cool it was and the fact that they talked about it. I mean, what cast does that to ask about fans and what we think of stuff like that? None, folks, none.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I know some folks, and I'm fully behind it of trying to get like a petition so that we can name the truck Bonnie or something. So yes, feel free to drop that in Emily's idea area. She might not listen to me there.
The truck had a rough season, but she's still ticking, still going. I feel like the truck is Winona. Winona had a really rough season too. And a lot of the things that she went through, and so I feel like the truck and Winona are like bonded. And so they get into trouble, they get into accidents, they make mistakes. Things happen to them, but they're still fighting. So, the truck. I've never even owned a truck, just so you know. It's not like I have a thing for trucks, but.
Yes.
You guys clearly have like a really beautiful friendship, and I love how passionate you are about the way you talk about the third and fourth layers of the show. I'd like to hear you talk about what you love about each other.
You want to start?
Yeah, I mean, you folks have heard. I mean, Bonnie is a single mother of 5. All right, just let that soak in. And to be able to put as much of herself into this, that very first season, when we came time to the end of the year, the ratings weren't very good, definitely the show could have gone. Very easily could have fallen off if it wasn't for the actions of all the Earpas and her dedication to doing the no-chill, the power hours, getting that info out there, is the reason that we're still on the air, to get us over that hump for all of this other wonderful stuff that's to come. But it's just her dedication, it's her passion for not just the fandom, but for her family and whatever she's doing. She, getting to be interacting with her on an almost daily basis. Come on, we all have ups and downs, there's a lot to go through. But finding a way to get as much done as she does for this fandom, and the way she's able to pour her heart into it, it is just such an inspiration for me. It is just so inspiring to see what she has to do, just like all of us would in the real life, and still have time. Like she said, when we hit record and start talking about the stuff, you hear her. You hear her passion. When we're on the interviews, you hear how she brings real life into some of the questions with the cast. And that's all coming from her heart. It's just her opening up and doing it. And that is so, so wonderful to see, but also such an inspiration for me. Thanks. Because it shows me what we all can do if we just come from love and just do it that way.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, I'm gonna try to talk. When I first opened, I've said this, I think, one other time. When I first opened up the fan account, I didn't put my name on it. I was just Winona Fans, and I wanted to be anonymous because I was still hiding a lot of who I was, a lot of just not wanting to find those people on Twitter that make you feel like I wanted to be able to, it's gonna sound so weird, but like, I'm a really positive person, and I do things, I really try to lead with my heart, and I'm not looking for something in return. I'm never looking for something in return. But my whole life, whenever I try to say nice things or do something really kind, believe it or not, people make you feel like you're brown nosing, or like you're goody two shoes, or like what are you trying to get, or you think you're better than everybody, you know, and it's that like, it's that fear of, I wanted to be able to be loving and kind and passionate, but I was afraid to put my name on it, which sounds really odd, you know, but I'm not the kind of person who can like, you know, stand up and be like, oh yeah, well, I'll tell you. I'm not that person. So I wanted to hide behind this Winona fans facade. And Kevin said, put your name on it. You need to be you. And he said, keep being you. And every time we did an interview, he would say, just be yourself. And every time I would send a tweet out, I would send it to him. Does this sound okay? Did I do it the right way? You know? And he said, just be yourself. And he kept just telling me that you're amazing. Just keep being yourself. You're amazing. Keep being yourself. And as it grew, and as the podcast grew, and as I started to find my voice, and I started to find people who echoed that same sentiment, who was like, oh my God, you're leading with love. I want to lead with love too. And the more bold, I guess, I got, and the more I started to, you can kind of hear it in the podcast, the more I sort of find my feet on the podcast, because after every episode of the podcast, I would be like, was that stupid? Like, did I say, was that really weird? Did I brought that out? Was that stupid? He could just be yourself. You're amazing. Keep going, you know? And now, you know, I'm here, and all kinds of things have happened in the last several years, and I've said it before, but if everybody is lucky enough to find their Kevin in the world, that one person, hopefully you have two people, maybe even three would be, but at least one person who tells you you're amazing and to be yourself and to keep going, who lifts you up in your darkest moments. When I was going through separation, when I was like, can I even do this? Can I be a single mom? Like, you know, am I kidding myself? You know, do I have it? Do I have what it takes? What if I'm making a mistake? What if I'm messing my kids up? What if I can't be everything for the fans? I was really worried about that, because I was trying to find a house, and we were in the middle of season 2, and I was like, I haven't tweeted all day, and he's like, just, it's okay, we've got you. We got you. Bridget and I tweeted a whole bunch today. We got you. And it was all I could do that season to keep my head above water. And in large part, I did because of him and his constantly lifting me up and making me feel like at any moment. There's a quote in Winona Earp where Gus says to Waverly, and it really hit me hard when I heard it the first time, and I didn't know why it hit me hard until you've seen my life unfold over the last couple of years. And Gus looks at her and she says, unstick your wings. Kevin's been that person for me.
Okay. What do you hate about each other?
You know, and that's why and I use the word heart, but that's why I repeat so often about being willing to maybe put yourself out there a little bit, especially in a safer space like this fandom. The folks who are doing fan art or blog posts or recaps or other podcasts, to try to find yourself and what allows you to maybe be more of your true self. This woman is a great example of where we all are better off because we have her in our lives, because she's willing to do that and take that risk. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for her. And, you know, if you want a really good cry,
listen to this podcast.
Take a look at the video that's pinned on my personal Bachelder account to the gift that she gave me at Acon. And yeah. Okay, you've seen it, all right? To have a friend who can do something like that for you, that's what we all want, very honestly.
Okay, but can I tell him what happened before all that? Because you saw the video. I mean, you've seen the video. Okay, it makes me look like okay, I'm great. Gave him a video. Okay, but flash back a little bit to a month and a half before Acon, and it was my birthday. No, we got one. So the Sci-Fi sent out a whiskey box, that really cool Winona Earp branded whiskey box with 3 whiskeys, and they sent it to the podcast, and we got one. So I said, so I was like, oh, that was so cool. I really would love that box to put like all my lanyards. But no, it's cool. Kevin, you deserve it. Like totally deserve it. Like I go to the podcast, I talk. And then like, I'm like, okay, great. And then like he listens to it. He like note edits it and makes notes, sends it to Brett. Like he does so much. I'm like, you totally deserve it. So it's my birthday, and a tiny bit of backstory about me is that, how do I say this?
Just be yourself.
Okay. I was in a relationship for a very long time with someone who forgot my birthday on a very regular basis. So I know, it's crazy. And I was always afraid to take up space in the world, a large part of that reason. So it's my birthday. I'm a single mom, and if you know anything about kids, they're not the best at like birthday celebrations. But it's cool because they really were. They made me French toast the next morning. They were great. But so it's my birthday, and now I have no expectations of people remembering my birthday. Although, thousands of people on Twitter remember my birthday, so it's amazing now. But it's the night before my birthday, and I'm talking to Rebecca, and she said, are you almost home? Because I had gone to the lake house with my family. And I said, yeah, I'm almost home. She goes, is there a package outside? And I said, no, I don't know. She goes, go check. So I went home, put my kids to bed, walked outside, and there was a package there. And I'm like, okay, so I brought it upstairs. And I opened the package, and I pulled out the whiskey box and a note that said, happy birthday. You deserve it, Kevin. And I started crying because I've always wanted people in my life who made me feel that way, who made me feel like I was important. And for him to give something that I knew was super important to him, and to just give it away so willingly because he loved me so much, it made my birthday, because I never had that. Not really, my birthday's right around the 4th of July, so it was always like, oh, we'll get you when we do the firework thing, So it was amazing that he took that kind of time. He like made sure it got there on my birthday, and I don't know. So that's where I have to do something to show him how much he means to me kind of came from. And what do you get him? What do you get him? What do you get him? And then I happened to see the sisters print, and I was like, got it. So that's the backstory of the video. So you see the really good video where I make him cry, but you didn't see the very intimate moment on midnight on my birthday where I was sobbing in my room because.
But I did. That box had 3 whiskey bottles in it. I kept one.
Yeah.
And I said to Bridget and to Bonnie, I said, I'm holding this until we get our season renewal, and then we're going to toast our season renewal with these bottles. So that was a very special moment, too, being able to do that. So it's just so overwhelming in the best way possible. But we still have 10 minutes left. Questions or topics on the podcast or the show that you want to hear anything about, feel free. And if they don't make us cry,
All right, I'll give you a lighthearted one, and AKA friendship goals. Okay, here's a little something I thought I'd ask. I'm delivering what would you say for each other? Which Winona character would you be most likely?
On Winona, which character?
Yeah. Well, what do you think Kevin would be, or what do you think Bonnie would be?
So we have to answer for the other person?
Yes.
Oh, that's harder.
Well, I could see several, but I think the one that just jumps right to the forefront for me would be Waverly.
Yeah.
You've gone through that personal journey as well, and you really are angels, so. Hashtag truth. Okay.
Oh, God. I would say he's a combination of so many. Yeah, Kevin. So like I feel like he's a combination of Nicole Hott because he is very he's very good at what he does and he's very professional and he's got you, and when you're with Kevin you feel like nothing will ever bad happen to you. You're like, Kevin's got me, you know, like, I mean, I'm always like, where am I supposed to be? He's like, I got you, you're here. This is when you're, you know, so he has that same, you know, but I do really feel like he's a lot like Jeremy in some ways. Because the one thing that sticks to my mind is when Jeremy says, you know, you guys just let me be me, you know, and I really feel like that's, you know, that reminds me a lot of you. It is,
because I was a kid in high school and junior high that had very few friends, that wasn't the big sports fan, that was very honestly the dork who liked those kind of things. So I did not have a lot of friends. So finding friends like you folks, again, cannot be understated how much it means to me.
Love you, Kevin. Yeah.
Love you, Kevin.
Good question.
What would have happened to the both of you if we wouldn't have got a fourth season? Did you ever discuss it, what you would go doing, and even it could happen in a fifth season?
Yeah.
It's a very wrong question, I understand.
Well, for me, I mean, Winona fans will always be Winona fans. I mean, I feel like...
But Kevin and Bonnie will always be Kevin and Bonnie.
That's right. You know, definitely, I feel like this community is not going anywhere. Whether the show is off, whenever the show goes off the air or not, this community is a community for a lot more reasons. That's right. We're here and we stay.
Yes.
But honestly, I'm pretty much like an Emily Andros groupie, so whatever she does next, I think we'll all just be like, you know, I mean... You've seen that flamingo migration thing? It's pretty much just going to be us. It's going to be like Winona fans, you know, now we're here. So, I mean, you know.
I think part of it, though, for me is, as corny as it sounds, I'm just living so much in the moment and loving it, I haven't even thought when, I mean, that day will come. It's TV. It will come. But I will deal with it when it comes. Until then, man, I am just going to have the time of my fucking life.
Bonnie, your panel questions are really good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I forgot to tell you that last night. So speaking of like seasons and when it would end, do you think that we want longer seasons? Like if everyone was on board, do you think it would be like harder for the narrative and maybe like make the year-to-year lifetime shorter, or do you think we want more episodes? I mean, obviously we'd love more episodes, but do you think you like it where it is because it helps with the narrative?
I mean, I always want more. I'm no chill, remember? You know, it's one of those things that, like, I think it's like whenever you say, like, be careful what you wish for kind of thing, too. Like, we have the 12 seasons. We have 12 seasons. I said it, it's canon, right? So if we...
You're going to get us in trouble.
She's going to be like, 12 seasons, what?
Until Emily hears.
I know. Sorry, Emily. We have 12 episodes, and it's really a good, you know, amount to have like an arc. But like, what do you do, if all of a sudden we were to get 20? I would take it. So let's see. Let's find out, right? But I don't know how much of that is anything that we haven't no-chilled that, because I don't know how much that is really in our control. And you know, there's so many like behind the scenes and puppets, and you know that I don't know what we can and can't do yet. So I feel like we're just scratching the surface of our power as a fandom, you know? I mean, had they not given us season 4, I was totally ready to launch the Send a Sci-Fi Up Potato campaign. So I had the graphic and everything. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Those of us who've been TV fans for a long time, I mean, the 12 or 13 or 10 for some shows versus the 20, 22. I mean, we always want more, but we also know, let's be honest, that some of those shows that get 20 or 22, there's a lot of wandering storylines and filler episodes and not the greatest stuff there sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I certainly in my heart of hearts would love more, but I also love that 3-month period a year when we're getting new eps and we know they're all going to kick butt one after the other. I also don't know if we could do, 22 weeks of hangouts and podcasts
Yes,
in a
we
row.
could. Yeah, we could. We could do it. We could do it.
It might kill us, but we'd love doing it.
Ride or die, Kevin. Ride or die.
Other questions or topics? We got just a couple of minutes left.
Hi guys, honor to finally meet you. At the end of each season, we've always come with one big takeaway, a takeaway that really gets us all deep, and then we all have the ultimate wish for what's coming next. What is your guys' ultimate wish for what is coming next in season 4?
Okay, this scares me because every time I have I put a wish out there, Emily, it never comes back to me in the same way that I put it out there, And you're like, oh no, I didn't mean that, Emily. I meant it like a normal way. So yeah, what do I wish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I want Peacemaker back. Okay, because I really like that whole. I like the gun. I kind of got attached to it. I want Peacemaker back. I want a major Doc redemption storyline, but one that he has to work for, because he needs to work for that. And I think that I would like to see him work for that because forgiveness doesn't come easy, and it's not something that should come easy, I mean, we should all have it in our hearts to forgive, but people have to want to be forgiven. They have to earn that forgiveness as well. And so I would like to see a Doc redemption arc. I would love to see Mama Earp back because I just think we're just scratching the surface of Mama and what she means to the Earp sisters and what she can do. I want to know who Valdez. There's so many. I want to know who Valdez is. I want a real way hot proposal. I mean, let's just put it out there, right? I want I want the whole this is a proposal. Yeah, that's I want Winona to realize, really realize that she's good enough. And that she belongs, that she's getting there. She's totally getting there if you see her arc from season 1 to season 2, season 3. I really want her to really be because I feel like she said the words, I'm the girl with the big ass. I feel like she said the words, but I don't feel like she fully believes it yet. And you could see that when Waverly, anoints her a hero, she's still surprised. She's still surprised that people believe in her. So I would like to see more of that. But anyway. That was a lot. I'm sorry. There's a lot to the show,
A lot of that certainly runs through my mind. There are 2 key things, and these won't be surprises. I just want lots more Earp sister scenes, and during there. And without being spoilery, for those of you that are Buffy fans, you know what happened in the series finale and how everything got turned upside down. I want to see something like, we got a little bit of it this season at the end, but I want to see one of those epic, and it doesn't have to be at the end of the series, but one of those epic showdown type things where everybody's involved, from Jeremy, Nicole, Nedley, there's some kind of lineup.
Is this our Power Rangers thing that we talked about? Because I'm totally here for the Earp Power Rangers going, we're all together.
Some type of total team, shoot 'em up that they have to do to save the town or something. I would literally be punching the ceiling, jumping up and down so much for something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we got to get Waverly out of the garden. Let's not forget that.
Well, assumptions, see, right?
But I want her to come back as Waverly. It really, the thought crossed me, what if she comes back, but she's different? This is my thing. Okay, we just recorded a podcast last night. You're going to hear it eventually, okay? Where we talked about what ifs, right? And the thing is, and as a fan, it's really kind of great. And I know it's a how dare you, Emily Anderson, and at this point, how dare you, Bonnie? But as a fan, we're 3 seasons into a show, and not one of us has any idea what season 4 is going to open like. None. Everything we
Find
thought
me
we
the person
knew.
who thought season 3 would open with vampires and sexy fog. Okay, you know. Really? No,
but,
Carla. Don't you, Carla?
But this even more so. Everything we thought we knew about the show is gone right now. Okay, we don't even know where everybody is. Like seriously, we have Nedley and we have Winona, and they seem to be in purgatory, but things don't look quite right in purgatory, right? And there's Valdez scrolled across the wall. We have no more Peacemaker. We have no more Revenants. The curse is broken. Everything we thought we knew. Yeah, I know we have Nedley, but like. Everything we thought we knew that we could count on about the show is now up in the air. So what does that mean for us as fans? And I think that's delicious. I think that's wonderful that as fans this long into the seasons, we can actually go into the next season going, I have no idea what's coming next. So anyway.
You were talking about a team. Do you count Kate on or off the team?
She's on the team. I think Kate is on the team. I want to see her and Mercedes redecorate their house. I want to see this whole like roommate, and I call them Mercadies. I want to see this whole like roommate scenario where they're like, "Who left? Did you leave your toothbrush there?" I would love for some like of those kinds of funny, yeah. So.
Well, we appreciate all of you coming out today. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And we hope you enjoy the rest of your con. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you all.